Oh, is there an age limit for trick-or-treating? Some towns say absolutely there should be. In some cities, teenagers can face a hefty fine or even jail time for trick-or-treating. Cities like Chesapeake, Virginia say teens above the age of 12 years old should not partake in this holiday tradition. Education reporter for Quartz, Annabelle Timsit, covered this story for the publication and joins me now. So Annabelle, I'm not going to lie. I have thought this myself at times when I'm giving out candy and, somebody walks up, they're a foot taller than me, they've got, a 5 o'clock shadow, and I think, do you really need this tiny, tiny little chocolate bar or whatever? You're basically probably already have a job. So tell me, about the cities, why some of these cities are considering implementing this cutoff age for trick-or-treating.
Right. Well, you're absolutely correct that some people think that elder kids should not be allowed to trick-or-treat on the street along with 7 or 8-year-olds. So my story is about the town of Chesapeake, Virginia, which has actually put in place a law that says that any person above the age of 12 caught trick-or-treating can face a misdemeanor charge, up to 6 months in jail, and anywhere between $25 to $100 worth of fines. But it's not alone. There are towns across Virginia, in Mississippi, in South Carolina, in Maryland, and even in Canada that have put in place age limits for trick-or-treaters.
So that's a pretty hefty punishment, a fine up to $100, especially for a teenager. That's a lot of money. But tell me some of the reasons why people are considering this, other than it's just sort of annoying to see somebody who looks like they're an adult reaching into the candy bag and grabbing 6 or 7 candies.
It really is a heavy punishment, just like you said, and I believe that local officials have said that they want to impose an age limit as part of a greater push to combat vandalism on the streets in Halloween night. And so they believe that getting older kids off of the street will reduce the risks of vandalism and pranks. But that's one of the reasons why people are actually against these types of laws, is that they say that something like Halloween shouldn't be criminalized, and that's too heavy of a punishment to face if, for example, a 13 or a 14-year-old wants to trick-or-treat with their sibling on Halloween night.
Yeah, and the other thing that I thought of is, a 13-year-old could look like an 11-year-old or could look like a 17-year-old. I mean, there's such a range in how teenagers look. I can't imagine how you would police this, especially when everyone's in costume.
Right, and the implementation is an absolute nightmare for local police officers if they were to actually go in the street and have to judge just by looking at kids who is above the age of 12 or above the age of 16, depending on the town, which is why local police have said that they don't actually plan on implementing these laws to the letter. They've made clear that if you are an older sibling and you want to trick-or-treat with your younger sibling, that's completely fine. They're not going to be patrolling the streets to find the 13-and-a-half-year-old who just wants to get some candy. They're really trying to limit the presence of older children, teens who are 16 and above, on the streets.
Yeah, I feel like this sort of happens naturally, though. I think I remember maybe when I was 12 years old, saying to my mom, I think this is going to be my last trick-or-treating expedition, because it just felt wrong. I felt too old. I feel like most teenagers just basically drop out on their own. It's not cool anymore.
Right, I write that in my piece, actually. It typically is something that happens naturally. Older kids just say, I don't want to dress up anymore, I don't want to go door to door asking for candy. But in the cases where it doesn't happen naturally, local officials say, well, it's our job to step in and make sure that these kids aren't on the street on Halloween night.
The one thing that I would like to see banned, parents dipping into my candy jar. I see that every single year. They come in with little babies who are not going to be eating the candy, and they dip into the candy. No. That's what you do when your kid comes home. Then you dip into their candy bag, right?
That seems fair.
Annabelle Timsit, thank you so much.